Hi, everyone. Peter Liciaga here, and welcome to our Living Strong podcast, where we don't just talk about life. We talk about how we live it day by day, where we are, and with what we've got. And today, this is a special one for me. I've got my friend, my brother, someone I've shared stages with, seasons with, and life experiences with. Michael Denby Kane. Now, Michael is a seasoned performer, an artist, a man who's lived through different chapters of life, on stage and off. What I respect about him is not just what he's done, but who he's become through it all. And that's what this conversation is about. We're not here to talk about highlights. We're here to talk about practice. What does it mean to live strong today? Not at 20, not at 40, but right now in this moment. Because what worked then doesn't always work now. But one thing never changes. We still have a choice. Michael, my brother, welcome, and
Good morning, Peter.
thank
How
you
are you,
so
sir?
much. Gosh, how are you doing today? Thank you.
I am blessed. I'm doing really well. I really am. Thank you for asking.
Oh, my pleasure. I this podcast. I have to say, this podcast has turned from one thing to another. It started off with Starlight Express alumni. Then it went into what I'm doing as an alumni, generally as a human being living in this world, in the moment that I'm in. And then it turned into a book that I wrote, Living Strong, The Power of Defining Moments. Then it turned into music, turned into practice, what I'm calling the Living Strong methodology. Then it turns into this manifesto that I wrote. So, and this is all just to keep me on track, to keep my head right. I went through some dark seasons in my life, as we all will as we go through life. And so it's all about living strong. And now the podcast, now it's not just alumni. You're a Starlight alumni, but you've done more than that in your life. And we're more than that. And that's pretty powerful. So it's about living strong. And now I want to ask you my first question that I want us to talk about, and not so much an interview. I wanted this to be a conversation, a chat about living strong. And living strong now compared to my 20s, to our 20s, to our 40s. For you, what does that look like? What did that look like in your 20s? If you reflect back, what did living strong look like in your 20s?
Living Strong was all about show business. It was all about where I wanted to go in this career. It was all about leaving my parents, leaving their expectations, finding my expectations because my parents had a very different agenda for my life. Finding my voice, but it was really 100% diving into. I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to be a lead in a Broadway show, and that was my focus. And so the difference is I have a whole nother focus about living my best life now. And show business is a small portion of it. Show business is what I do. It is not who I am. And it has taken me being bumped up against the head a couple of times to realize that my life is a blessing from God. And the totality of that has a little bit to do with show business, but it has to do more with my soul and where my soul is going, recognizing blessings around me, understanding that life is fragile and that I don't get the pleasure of deciding my fate. My fate is already written by God. And I do have a choice in those things, but I'm more of a follower of the spirit than I was when I was 20. I had a headstrong version of my life, and now I accept life, the days as they are, and I treat them as blessings. So that's the
You know, it's
difference.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I talk a lot about the practice, and when someone comes to me whether it's my karate school or a coaching or a small business that wants me to walk side by side with them as they go through their journey, I always want to take a look at what their practice is during the day when they get up, going through their day to the end of the day, and then the repeat. So, in your 20s, what was your practice? I know my practice, mine was get up early, and I still do. Get up early, go to the gym, and train hard. I've always done that, and then proceed with my day with whatever what I was doing. But that was a practice, and the whatever part, which was from the moment I left the gym to when I went to sleep at night, the whatever. I mean, you could say, well, did you do this? Yeah. Did you do this? There's so much stuff. It was so out of, I really didn't have control over it. I just did stuff. So that was my practice in my 20s, especially when in maybe 25, especially 25. Prior to that, I was in the streets. I was a gang member and all that. People could hear about that in my book. But what was your practice in your 20s?
I got up, I ate a little something, and I went to dance class. See, I started show business a little bit, not backwards, but I'm a singer. And so when I discovered dancing, like I said, my focus was to be on Broadway. And so I asked around, and the quickest way they were, you have to sing, you have to dance, you have to act. So I had taken lots of singing. I was an opera major with an education minor in college. And
Mm.
so I had the singing part, I felt, but I was really lacking in the dancing department. I could naturally move, but actually the technique of dancing is what I did not have. So I was lucky enough to work at a theme park, and that person said, "Oh, you can dance if you try." And so I tried, and I became very good at it pretty quickly. I went from my first dance class to being on Broadway as a dancer in 4 years of taking class. And I didn't know that that was unique until after I had done it. But in my 20s, took 3 classes a day. I took class all day long. And when I first got to New York, like I said, I took a 10 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, and a 3:30 Frank Hatchet. And unless I had an audition, I danced all day. Of course, in those days, classes were only like $4. So, but I pretty much made it my mission that I was going to get in a Broadway show, whatever it took. And so that's what I did in my 20s. I literally danced all day long.
Wow. I had a stage in my life when I left New York City, the Bronx, to get out of the gangs. I went to Florida, and in Florida is when I remember thinking about Gene Kelly and wanted to be a dancer. So I went to a little Dolly Dinkle ballet school and started dancing. I was like the only guy, and there was nothing but little girls in there. I worked construction during the day, then I would do dance at night. And then there was a lady who's she ran a ballet company, Fort Pierce Ballet. Natalie Nijinsky heard about me. And of course, finding guys down in South Florida was almost
Hard.
impossible. So
Right,
she
right.
reached out to me. She brought me in. But then I trained with her for several years. She got the street out of me. She got my body to the classical. So my dream was to be a classical ballet dancer. And of course, I was a star in Fort Pierce. And
Right.
then I stole away, went back to New York in 86. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is the talent
Everybody
that
does
was there.
that. Because I came from
I
Nashville and I
actually
thought
went
I
to,
was pretty good. And then when I got here, I was like, oh, I'm not good at
mhm.
all.
I remember I went to Steps and I met JoJo Smith.
Oh
And
yeah.
JoJo Smith gave me a scholarship because I was yeah, almost living on the streets. I was able to live with my aunt. I was going back and forth through some family members until I met Kevin Brooks. And Kevin Brooks, I don't know if you know Kevin. I
Remember
think you might.
Kevin Brooks? Yeah.
And he brought me in, took me in, and encouraged me to do musical theater. And then I auditioned, got Hershey in '86, and that was my beginning of being a professional dancer. I did some Nutcrackers in New York, Long Island Ballet Company, but they gave me $300 for like
Oh
two
yeah.
months of work.
Oh yeah. I got a small ballet company when I first got to New York, and I said to my partner, she said, are you just starting out in ballet? I said, yeah. And I said, well, I'm trying to decide. I have a little bit of money. Should I take ballet class or should I take tap class? And this was especially at the time, a real dose of reality. And she said, I would take tap class if I were you because I've never seen a black guy in a ballet company. And I was like, oh. And this was 85. And she said, I've never seen a black person in a ballet company. And so I was like, oh. I said, and how much do they pay you? She goes, oh, not very much at the beginning. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go take tap class. And that led to auditions for Sophisticated Ladies and other things that were at that time. If you were African American, you had to be in a black show, or you were one of two in a white show. And so they would hire one or two black people for Broadway shows. Otherwise, it was the season of Sophisticated Ladies, Black and Blue came along. And like I said, for African Americans, you had to be in a black show or else you didn't work. It was just the way it was. Or you were one or two in a white show. That's
Wow,
just the
yeah.
reality of the
I
day.
know. Yeah, that was, and I know Kevin Brooks had told me if you want to make real money,
Yes.
go audition for theater, musical
Yes.
theater, and my first one was song and dance. But
Yep.
then I got booked for Hershey, $300 a week I made,
Yep.
and of course I was coming out of making struggling, starving for
You
Nutcracker.
thought you were making a lot of money.
I thought I was, it was huge. It
I
was
know.
huge.
I know.
I loved it. Now back then, how intense was it? I know for me, I was very intense with everything that I did, but I
Oh
had
yeah.
very little intention. And so today I'm very intentional. So let's talk about now, where you are now when it comes to your practice.
Well, every morning I get up and I swim. I go to the gym. I try to get there by 6 in the morning because lanes are hard to come by. But those of us that are consistent swimmers, you get there so you can get a lane. And I put in about an hour and 20 minutes every morning, and then I go lift at the gym for a little bit after that, and then I get my day started. So I'm usually out of there by 8:30. And my day is well, let's go before that. When I get up, I pray. First thing, when I get up in the morning, I
Mm,
pray. When I put my feet on the floor, I don't pray at night. I pray in the morning because I pray God with the intention to do the best I can with that day. I figure at night, when if you pray, the day is over. You're going to bed. In the morning, I'm like, okay, God, it's you and me. Let's make the best of this day. Every day I say that when I put my feet on the floor. I'm so grateful. And then I go swimming. And then, like I said, I get home 8:39, and then I start my day. And depending upon what that is, for the information for your audience, we have a dance convention called New York City Dance Alliance, which is one of several businesses my partner and I have. So our week will consist of flying out to a different city. We go to 34 cities a year on a tour. So we'll fly out on
oh,
Thursdays and we'll get home on either Sunday night or Monday morning. So the 3 days of the week in between are usually doctor's appointments, like everyone else, laundry, banking, all of those things to get ready to fly back out on Thursday morning. So my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are they consist of preparing to get out of town again on Thursday. So those days are varying.
Yeah, and it's very, very intentional. I know I'm extremely intentional with my life right now, and I've created boundaries, and I also make sure the conversations that I'm in are honoring and respecting the time that I have. And I know that we're in similar seasons of our life. So can we spoke about the importance, and of course, this my audience are men, primarily men. And even though a lot of women watch, a lot of the moms, my students watch and follow what I do, but I really speak to 40-year-olds and older because I know when I got to 40, I had an aha moment. Unlike when I was in my 30s, certainly in my 20s, I didn't have any of that. But it was in my 40s I really wanted to settle down and get really focused on what I was doing. And so now at 64, I'm going to be 65 next month. I there's things I would say and advise and guide my 40-year-old self because I was in that space that, hey, Peter, I see you're in this space. This is what I prefer you to do. Create boundaries, control, or at least be in conversations that are going to honor the time that you have. It'll go by fast. So, can we talk a little bit about that? What are your thoughts on boundaries and conversations?
Well, in my 40s, I struggled because I had some real um, medical issues in my 40s. I had kidney failure. I had hip replacements. I had a kidney transplant ultimately. And my 40s, all of those illnesses in my 40s and early 50s really shaped who I am now, and it shaped it in a way that I am first so grateful because I know the fragility of life. And I know I had a firsthand knowledge. I almost died in my late 40s. And so I feel like every day is a privilege. And yes, time is measured, and I make the most of my time. I try not to uh, put expectations on having a specific plan because I know that my plan, God laughs at my plans. God has plans that we don't understand. And so I try to prepare myself spiritually for whatever comes because I know that my faith plays such a huge part in my journey. Because, like I said, I was so sick that, and I wonder what people do that don't pray because I feel like the prayers, my prayers, and the prayers of all of you guys and people that know me really saved my life. And so everything that I do is intentional in the fact, in i.e., that I am always ready to have a deep spiritual conversation with anybody because my soul lies in a contemplative place. My soul now lies in a what can I do to help place? What can I do to make a difference? Because I do know that I've lived more of my life than I have ahead of me. And so now I am intentional in saying, what can I say that is encouraging to someone? What can I say to someone who might be in their 40s or early 50s that are struggling? Because um, uh, life can change on a dime. So I feel like you have to have a substantive character. You have to carry armor that is ready for anything and walk humbly with God because we don't know what tomorrow brings. So, whatever that is, you must be prepared in a spiritual way. You must be prepared in a physical way because I feel in my sickness, I feel like there's a lot of things that I can handle myself. But then there's a whole lot of things that are God things that I must be humble and I must cry out for help. I think it's very important to ask for help because we confuse ourselves in our younger years in thinking, oh, I've got this, I have all the answers. And the reality of it is, we know very little. And to say, sometimes, you know what, God, I don't have this. I'm scared. I need help. And I think that we as men, especially, don't understand the process of going, I don't have all the answers. I need help. And I think that is so key to all of us. Or I just need you to tell me it's going to be okay. I just need to understand that I am loved, because accepting love, being a provider or being someone who gives love to the people around you or gives your best to the people around you, you know what? That's the boundary. You have to go, no, you know what? I need I need to know that I'm loved. I need you to give me a hug. I'm scared today, and I think that me being so sick freed me up to go, you know what? I'm scared. I need help. And I do those things freely now, as before when I was younger, I didn't know how to go, I'm scared and I need help. I think that's a
What's
big thing for me.
amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. What's amazing is that the last couple of decades, most certainly the last 10 years, since especially when I got into the jujitsu world and as a martial artist, the one thing that I found in the jujitsu world, which makes all the difference with what we're talking about with men now expressing themselves more than ever. I'm seeing dads now really leveling up and with a state of emotion and nurturing. And in the jujitsu world, I got introduced to gentlemen. What's great about it, because I dug deep on the psychology of why is it different in jujitsu, is because it's very intimate. We basically hug each other the whole time we're there. And, I was there yesterday for almost 3 hours training, and it's nothing but hugs. And, we try to break each other's arms, legs, and choke each other out just to the point where we tap. And then at the end of the 6 minutes, a 6 minute round, we hug each other and say, hey, man, that was amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. And then
yeah.
afterwards, the talk. We talk about life, talk about what we're going through. And this is why I do this podcast and I'm doing the work that I'm doing in my community with Living Strong. And what I found from these conversations with these men and also women as well, but I could speak as a man to men, that one thing I realized is that we are in great shape for the shape we're in. And why is because you mentioned it, is that we can decide to define this moment. And it's going to take prayer, it's going to take contemplation, it's going to take what I call having a good A game, being aware of how you're feeling and what's going on in your life, in and out of your life, and then assessing it, thinking about it, contemplating on it, and then choosing the right appropriate action. And it always starts with prayer. And I believe when you go through challenging times in life where life says, hey, stop now, God says, stop now, and I'm with you. Let's talk, let's chat, let me hear from you. Prayer. And it took me, the loss of my son, the loss of my hips, the all those dark valley experiences, enough of those for me to be where I am right now, where, like you, my practice in the morning, I get up at 4, between 3:30 and 4, and to get my heart, my head right so that I could get my day right. Very
Yeah.
intentional. So I'm glad you said that. I know you guys have the opportunity, like me, but I think you guys more so, you and your partner, where you travel around and you meet young people and their parents and grandparents, and then not just those that are participating, but those that are supporting the venue, the event, that you have the opportunity. I can only imagine those defining moments you have with people that you may never see again, but it in that moment, God touches them through you. That's amazing.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege. We've had our company for 35 years now. And so now there's been generations of people that have grown up through
Congratulations.
Dance Lines. Thank you. And the best part about it is to see them at 6 and then to see them at 26. We went to see a friend of ours who's a prima ballerina at ABT, and she was a little girl that used to play. We know her parents well, but she's also one of our attendees, and she would play in our pool, and she'd go, "Oh, Uncle Michael, Uncle Joe, I have to go to ABT and take some classes. I can't stay in your pool." And now she is a star ballerina at ABT, and we saw her do Firebird the other night. Her name's Catherine Hurlin. She's fabulous. And
Fantastic.
We both sat there and cried because I was like, oh my God. And Catherine is just one of thousands and thousands of people after all these years that had the privilege to watch them grow up and hopefully had a positive influence on them. And it's such a privilege. I mean, it certainly gives us fire every weekend when we go out and see the little babies, especially for me, the little brown babies, the Black and Hispanic babies that come and wrap their little arms around my legs because representation is important. And all of us on our faculty, Desmond Richardson, Chloe Arnold, all of the African American people and the Hispanic people that work for us understand that we are beacons for them. We get to see them, especially them, grow up, and uh, it's such a privilege to be a small part of their lives and go. If you keep working, and you are kind, and you are diligent with your practicing, and you keep it up, you will succeed. There is a stage for you, and that is our message every weekend. Do your homework, be a kind person, be a good person, and practice, and you will succeed. And it works. And we are so lucky that we get to do it every weekend.
I caught something that you and Joe shared at one of your events. I just happened to catch it. Facebook shared it with me on my feed about you. I think it was Joe sharing about to everyone saying that you may not be professional, but you said it that
There's
but
a
there is a
stage for you.
stage for you.
Yes.
I
And
love
that
that.
applies to everything in your life. I mean, or in any profession, I should say. If you work hard and you are kind, there is a place for you. And there are people that are more, if you want to be a doctor and you work hard and you're kind, there are places all over. I'm from a small town in Mississippi, and when I go home, when I had kidney failure, and I would have dialysis in Vicksburg, where I'm from, and some of those nurses would be like, "Where? Oh my God, you live in New York City. How do you? How it's such a big place. How do you survive up there?" And I said, "You know what? You're a nurse. You could go anywhere in the world, in the country rather, and be a dialysis nurse. They would love to have you." And a lot of them were like, "Oh no, I've never left Vicksburg. I could never leave this place." And I think that those things require courage and curiosity. So it doesn't just apply to show business. If you are curious and you are diligent, and like I said, if you are kind, you can take your skills anywhere and people will welcome you with open arms. And I don't know whatever happened to that dialysis nurse that I had then, but I thought, gosh, you have a degree in nursing. You could go to Atlanta and do this. You could go anywhere, but some people are stuck in their
Mhm.
circumstance. And if you allow yourself to think big and go, oh, you know what? I'll take a baby step towards my dreams. And that baby step will lead to another step tomorrow, which will lead to another step the next day. And you just have to keep at it sometimes. And so that's the privilege of my job is I get to encourage young people and go, if you keep at it and you do the hard work, you're going to succeed.
It has me thinking of a question. Where do you think people, men, are stuck right now? Where do you think they're stuck?
Gosh, like I said, Peter, I think that the big thing is to go ask for help. I think no matter what it is to go, you know what? I can't let my pride keep me stuck. I gotta go, okay, what are you doing? Or if I see somebody like Peter Liciaga, I go, what are you doing? Help me. Whatever that is, everybody has a light. And sometimes we dim our own light. I don't know if people believe in horoscopes, but my birthday was just recently, and my horoscope for my birthday was like, get out of your own way. Everything's going to be okay. If you overthink everything, you make yourself stuck. So get out of your way, Michael. And I thought, oh, I hear you, God. I hear you. Because I overthink all the time. I'm like, what can I be doing? Sometimes sitting still and letting the universe talk to you. That's what I love about swimming every morning. It's an hour and a half of quiet. I put my
Mm.
earphones in and I just have my thoughts for those laps. Each lap goes by and I just think, Michael, what do you want? Michael, where are you going? And each of the strokes that I have, I know it sounds odd, but the quiet and the water, and I am a Pisces person, so I'm best in the water. I'm alone with my thoughts, and I get to go. Where do you want to go? And I think sometimes listening to those small inner voices are key too for men, for anybody. If you go, what? Let me be alone. We're scared to be alone with our thoughts sometimes. We go, we want the TV on, we want the radio on, we want different stimulus things to get into us. Sometimes the scariest thing you can do is just sit with yourself and let the quiet take over. And I think we're like again asking for help. If you go, I don't know how to do that. Can you help me? There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. It makes you actually curious and strong, I think.
Yeah, I know that uh, ego st
Yeah.
stops, and when I go to our training, the saying is, when especially when I work with someone new, I say, leave your ego at the door, come on in and just be open, be free, and have the courage to do that. So yeah, so I think that that's something that holds all of us back, is the pride, the ego, and time keeps going. I think that's why it's so important that those of us that lived long enough to learn those lessons, these are not lessons that you think of, oh, that's a great idea to teach, but it's lived lessons. And I think it's important for us to share that. And men, I know men and women, people are in a place where they want to hear more of that, especially now. A lot of my mentors, that especially with the AI coming, and as we use the tools, the technology that people have created to help us and serve our communities better, they say that don't ever think that the technology is going to replace you. Never think that, and be willing to be open. And it takes courage for us to come on here and say, hey, look, this is what I'm going through, this is what I've been through, this is now what my practice is. Our real life experience validates what we suggest to others, or what we point to in our life that we do. And someone asks, well, why do you do that? And I said, well, this is what I experience. This is what I know based on what I experience, and this is why I practice, why I practice what I practice. So I have in the Living Strong methodology, it's basically learn, practice, create. Learn, practice, create, nonstop.
Yep.
And so it's something I encourage everyone to do. Yeah. And so no one chooses what they try to choose. But I love what you said earlier about, we have plans and then God has.
God laughs at you. It's the truth. It's the truth. So I really try not to make. I make plans obviously because I'm a grown person,
Mhm.
but as far as holding on to them and going, this must be this way, I don't do that anymore. I don't, because there's a whole million ways to skin a cat, and my way might not be the right way. So let's show me your way, and we'll figure it out. But I try not to hold on so tight to what I think, because I may not know all the answers. So I only know a certain amount of things. And I say to people all the
Mhm.
time, I sing and dance. If you want me to sing and dance, I'm really good at that. But you don't want me to do your taxes. You don't want me to be, you don't want me to clean your teeth. I'm not a dentist. I don't I, Everybody, God gives people their own gifts. So I think that staying in your lane is a really good thing, because I don't know a lot about paving a street. And so if that's what you do, then I'm like, that's great. But I can't tell you how to do that. So I need to, but if you need me to sing you a song, I can do that.
That's
So
great.
I try
Well,
not to stress over things that I don't know anything about,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So
100%. And sustain for me, as I and I'm in this season, and you mentioned it earlier, I'm acutely aware that uh, being embracing 65, I know, okay, my prayer is that because of the work that I intend to do for the next 20 years, so that takes me to 85. And because God's put certain things on my heart. And so I said, okay, I believe because you gave me these brand new hips. And so I believe that the work that you have me doing, I can accomplish in 20 years. so, so my prayer every day is to live with that in mind. But I'm acutely aware of that. And so it goes back to boundaries and being very intentional and really being in conversations that help serve what God's put on my heart to do. But I know that there are certain things that I share with people, and what I want to ask you, two or three things
can I
that you
speak to what
would
you
share.
just can I speak to what you
Yes.
just said about making plans for 20 years from now? I have a kidney transplant. One of the things that has happened to me in these years is, like I said briefly, I had kidney failure. So that wound up with me getting a kidney transplant. And all transplant people know that you take immunosuppressant drugs. So I am very unique in that I don't have an immune system now, because I mean, I have one, but it's extremely suppressed to the point that I have almost no immune system. So this leaves me in a different predicament than you, Peter, and than most people. I don't, and I don't want to cry because I don't think it's sad what I'm about to say. I don't know that I have 20 years. And so, because anything makes me sick, any cold that's going around or anything that's going around. COVID was very rough for me. I stayed inside for 4 years because I don't have an immune system. And so, even at that, I'm just getting back out into the world this last year and a half. I do it with a mask on. I always have to wear my mask. So, I don't have the luxury of planning 20 years or even 10 years or even tomorrow, because when I get sick, having no immune system, I have to go to the hospital. And antibiotics are immediately. I'm monitored every 6 weeks. I get my blood work done. So I'm very careful. I have to be very careful with myself. So I say all those things to say I don't make plans. I am blessed to be anywhere. So I am intentional about telling people that I love them. I'm intentional about, I haven't seen you, Peter, in years, but I hope you know that you've made a tremendous difference in my life. I tell people immediately that I love them. I tell people immediately that I miss them. I don't It's hard for my partner Joe that I live this way because he wants us to be together in 20 years. And I want that too. But I know that I'm fragile. And so today, I have a good relationship with, I'm going to go to the dry cleaners after this. I know everything about my dry cleaners. I'm going to go to the grocery store. Those people in the grocery stores know my story. They've seen me be very sick. I try to forge relationships with every single person that I meet. I try to tell them that they are blessed. I try to tell them to live in the moment. I try to tell them that life is very short and you think that you got everything under control. But tomorrow you could get hit by a bus. So, and then those people that died in that, I don't know if you remember in the LaGuardia situation where the plane landed and the nose got cut off and the pilots died. Those people left their home that morning, kissed their wives, kissed their partners, but they didn't come home. So that's my life. I know that I get sick. So I try not to make plans like that. I just try to day by day be the best version of Michael I can possibly be. I try to be humble in it. I try to easily say I'm sorry. I easily say I love you. I easily say I think you're great because I want my memory to be a good one. I don't want people to look back and go, oh, Michael Caine was an asshole. I want people to go because when I was dying, that was one that was present of mind for me, is that I wanted to make sure that I had done enough in my life that God would know my soul. And now that I've had the privilege of having my transplant for this 10 years, I work very hard to make sure that God knows my soul. And so, like I said, I don't want to cry over it because it is what it is. And I every day am so lucky to be here. And so every day I try very hard to be kind to people. I don't know what their circumstance is. So I don't want to be the cause for them to have a bad day. So I intentionally try to go to be kind to people because I don't know what they're going through, as they don't know what I'm going through. So I try to go with a smile. I try to go with kindness because I want God to know my soul. And I work very hard at that. Um, that's my difference in making plans for 20 years because I know that these transplant years of mine have been such a blessing. I've gotten to see the best of people. People have been so extremely kind to me. When you're sick and you need help, the nurses of this country, the doctors of this country, there's so many people that help. In fact, it was a shock to me once I got my transplant and came back into the world where there's all kinds of everybody, because I didn't know anybody who wasn't really kind and nice while I was sick. And so when I met my first, somebody cut me off in the car, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody just did that. But that's people's nature. When I was sick, I didn't know anybody who wasn't praying for me. I didn't know anybody who wasn't kind to me. And so when you get back into the real world and you go, oh, that jerk just cut me off in line, and you're like, yeah, but you know what? I don't know their story. I don't know. They could be getting home to a sick relative. I don't know. So I try to let those things go. It's hard, but this life I have now is a blessing. And it's a serious blessing to me. I don't mean to bring everything
Michael,
down, but that's how I live.
no, 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 Michael, I love you for sharing that, and I want to share this with you. My before this podcast, my last podcast was with a gentleman, a good friend of mine. I've known him over 20 years. He's actually my first black belt that I ever
Mhm.
trained or ranked to black belt. And 2.5 years ago, he was diagnosed with kidney failure. And I get emotional because he's going through what you're explaining right now. And his answer about the future, you hit it exactly what he said. And he has a son now that's going to be 6, and he expressed, and I thank him for sharing this. Like, I thank you for sharing this, because he expressed how he doesn't know what tomorrow brings, and he's struggling to be useful and bring meaning to the moments.
Today.
And so there's a lot that this is why these conversations that I'm doing now is so important, because you and he, I cannot relate to what he's going through, but I believe that
I
you have
can.
something to say and to speak
Please
to
hook
those
us up
moments.
after this. I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah, his name is Kelly Mariana. I'll definitely connect you guys right away. And uh, I think you said a lot. Whatever, everything that you said, it's going to touch his heart. It's going to encourage him, and it's going to empower him. And thank you, thank you,
See,
thank you.
hope is the thing. Hope is the thing, especially for him, because dialysis is, I say dialysis keeps you alive, but it's also the lack of hope. When you're on dialysis, you just live every day for that machine that keeps you alive. So, but what dialysis is too, is you see true humanity. You see people that are so sick that they have no other choice, but their humanity shows through. So there are things that happen to you in life that and dialysis teaches you all of it. It teaches you how to live and with gratitude. It teaches you, you see people that die. You see people in their last days of their lives, because sometimes you go to dialysis and it does the way the machine works. It doesn't, it's a long conversation, but at any rate, people die. And so you see them literally like sometimes the last day of their lives, and you see how they live that. It was very impactful to me, because someone would come to dialysis on Friday and then they didn't come back on Monday. And all of us that were there and still alive, it takes your breath away, because you know that there, but for the grace of God, go I. And so I really want to talk to your friend, because hope is the only thing that you have. You have to have, there's a song, Great is Thy Faithfulness, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow is one of the lyrics. So I pray God for strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. And dialysis teaches you those things, that you hold on to that fact. And then when I got my kidney, a stranger gave me a kidney, someone who did not know me. So again, that's God. That's God
Mhm.
turning his face to me. And so I am humbled by all of that. And so if I can hold on to just strength, I pray God strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow.
I love that. And I'm thinking, you had said something about a minute ago, where this idea, because I think of legacy and how I want my grandson, who's going to be 2 in a couple of weeks. And right after we finish here, I'm going for a walk with him, and I can't wait. So I can hear him getting ready right now. But legacy is not what people say about you. It's how you made them feel. And I remember hearing this many years ago, and that's something I'm acutely aware of as well, because there were times in my life, and all of us, because we were ignorant, that there are people, when they think of me and what I did to them in the past, brings much pain to them, maybe even trauma. So all the work that I do, my prayer to God is that everything that I do in my day is out of a grateful heart, but also of a heart. If I were to meet them today, that I'm sorry, and today I do this, and I honor you, celebrate you. And so I thank you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing. And I'm happy because this is what I want our conversations to be like. I keep correcting myself because I do interviews, but I don't want interviews. I want conversations. And I think we
100%.
had a beautiful conversation. And I love it when I get emotional because that means, God's
Speaking to
speaking
your
to me,
heart.
encouraging me, and it's going to ripple that ripple effect from here. So, what I want to do is have you share a couple. I know you've shared quite a bit. Oh my gosh, I had guide like questions or comments, but you tapped on it. This is how great God is
I
because
know.
when there was one time I was studying to be a preacher, and I got my license to be a licentiate preacher, but going through the training, I learned how to prepare my sermon, create everything. But the way God works in my life, I'll go through all the preparation, and the moment I get up to the pulpit, in that moment, the Holy Spirit takes over. And sometimes everything I studied gets thrown off to the side. And I
Yep.
see the audience, or I see the people, I see their eyes, I feel what the Spirit's saying is what I got to say, and then it goes.
Yep.
And this is, I think, what these conversations are going to be. And today I says, okay, what is God going to share with me today, touch me today, and at the same time, touch those that watch this. So share anything else on your heart before I go ahead and wrap this up for us.
I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I think since I laugh because I say since I didn't die, I always look for opportunities to share my experience with God or share how God has touched my life with people. And so this was just another opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful that you asked me. Again, I say to people all the time, if you just can put one foot in front of the other, and sometimes that's not very much. I was sick for a very long time, and sometimes putting one foot in front of the other meant just having a little Jello because I couldn't eat much, or a good day would be, and I know this sounds too much to share, but I didn't throw up because of all the medicines I was taking, or I didn't, or I have had two sets of hip replacements. So the second set of hip replacements was a whole challenge in and of itself because you don't walk for your first set of hip replacements, you walk immediately. Your second set of hip replacements, you don't walk immediately. They want you to rest because you drill holes almost right next to the holes that you've drilled before for the first set of hip replacements. So those have to set first. So, like I said, not setting small goals for yourself, understanding that even if it's whatever that thing is that propels you forward, even if it seems like it's a small thing, take that step forward. Every time I swim and I get up to 20 laps or whatever I get up to, and then if I get sick, like I said, I get sick easily, then I have to go back to the pool and I start over again with one lap. I try not to be discouraged because I can only do one lap that day, because I know tomorrow I'll do two laps, and then the next day I'll do another lap. So baby steps are always encouraged. Whatever that is in your life that you go, okay, God, I'm right here, but I need to get a mile away. Take the first step. The mile begins with the first step. And that's all I would say to people. Whatever your circumstance is, if you want to get from A to Z, try going from A to A plus, then to B minus, then to B, then to C minus. Take small steps. You don't have to go from A to Z all today. God sees you, God supports you. Take a small step, whatever that is.
Oh, amen on that. I have to say, while you were talking, as you were going through and sharing your experiences, just in the last couple of moments, I thought of those that were there with you going through all this, these moments. And without question, I think of Joe and, because I know
Being
Renee and
sick is much worse on the people that watch you be sick than it is on you. Because when you're sick, you have nurses and doctors, and you have drugs, and you have all that other stuff. The people that are praying for you, the people that love you, they don't have any of that. Joe would come home to the empty house and just pray that I wouldn't die. And so I always look to caregivers. When you see somebody who's sick, those people that are caregivers, they go through it too. And it's really hard for people that if your spouse has cancer or if your spouse is going through something, yes, it's hard on you, but it's really, my mom just recently died. She had Alzheimer's. My cousin was a blessing because she was there to take care of her. And so those people day to day that watch you be sick, those are angels. Caregivers, nurses, doctors, people, those are angels, people that support you in whatever you're going through. It's a blessing.
Uh, well, thank you for that. And it's true. I'm grateful for Renee, and Renee and I, as you know, with you and Joe, we've gone through so
All of
much,
it.
all of it. I mean, loss and the challenges, everything. So as we wrap up, I'm gonna wrap this up, Michael. But when we sign off, don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I just want to thank you, and you are my brother, my
Always,
friend,
Peter.
and
Bless you,
thank you
bless
so
you.
much. Thank you. And so everyone out there, thank you for taking the time with us. Michael, thank you for showing up and for sharing your truth, your experiences, and the way you live your life today. This right here, everyone, this is what it's about. Real conversations, real life, real practice. And for everyone watching and listening, if something in this conversation spoke to you, if you found yourself thinking, yeah, I can do that, or that's what I needed to hear, then I want to invite you to go a little bit deeper. I created a video that breaks down the Living Strong methodology. It's simple, practical ways to begin applying this in your life right here, starting right now, where you are. The link will be somewhere on this page, in the descriptions, on the comments somewhere. If you can't find it, reach out to me. Take a few moments, watch it. It's very short, and start building your own daily practice, because at the end of the day, you're not too old, you're not too broken, you're not too beat, and it's never too late to live strong. You are in great shape for the shape you're in because you still have a choice. And living strong is choosing every single day. So I'll see you in the next conversation. Everyone have a blessed day. And remember, always, always live strong. Take care, everyone. Bye.